Hey y'all. It's not damn, it's damn actually. Like embankments. Yeah. So yeah, we've built dam. We named it because we're designing a retention focused grant protocol that the grant flows like a stream of dam, a stream that comes out from the dam. So yeah, while designing the grant framework, I started with dissecting grant framework into three different elements. First is the grant source. Are we going to use governance token as a grant source? Are we going to use ETH, USDC, or Pepe as a grant source? And next to the evaluation, who's going to decide how much of money is going to be allocated to which project? And then finally to the distribution, is it going to be retrospective, is it going to be prospective or milestone based? And yeah, starting with the status quo of the grant source. So most of the ecosystem grants usually consist of governance token, although it could yield to quick ROI and solid early market presence because they invest a lot. It's not actually sustainable because it leads to massive sell pressure of the governance tokens because the protocols who are the recipients of the grants have no incentive to keep the price of the chain's governance token. So yeah, as an alternative, we've built the grant source mechanism on top of a mechanism called yield stripping. So if one deposits 100 USDC to Aave that gives 12% APY, with the yield stripping, while depositor holding control over the 100 USDC, which is the principal, the yield part, which is 12 USDC per year, could be stripped out and could be delegated to someone else, or could be used for the grant source. So yeah, this is how yield stripping is integrated to our grant framework. So it starts with DAO filling the upstream grant source with liquid assets like USDC and ETH. With that liquid asset, it fuels liquidity to ecosystem players like lending protocol, DEXs, yield aggregators. And while fueling liquidity to those ecosystem players, what we're doing at the same time is with those yields generated, we're only taking the yield part of those deposit positions and using it as a grant source. So thus, what we're doing is we're fueling liquidity to ecosystem players, and with the yield that comes out from those deposit positions, we're using it as a grant source, while there's no depletion of treasury and there's no token sale pressure. Moving on to grant evaluation process. So most of the ecosystem grants, the grants are evaluated within a centralized small number of committees and delegates, which could lead to centralization risks and bottlenecks. Because only a small number of decision makers have to cover sometimes hundreds of protocols. So yeah, this is what we're proposing as an alternative. So we emphasize the importance of evaluating only based on metric for projects that are suitable for quantitative evaluation. So for projects like DeFi protocols that has clear metrics like TVL and TX counts, we don't necessarily have to put human biases into it. So we could fully automate that part. And for qualitative evaluation, the projects that are suitable for qualitative evaluations, we could use community's input to make the decision based on the gauge voting style. And AutoStream is evaluated based on D points. Since I don't have much time, I'll skip this part. D points is based on TVL, TS count, or any metrics that the entity that sources the grant source wants to use. And there's also a derivative metrics that ensures that we're evaluating based on consistent growth and the retention of the growth. And yeah, for a community stream, it starts with one token, one vote, but it's only before we transition to more sophisticated ones. So we could add like other layers of protections like downvoting, the evaluations of votes, and we could also add caps and obviously quadratic voting to defense against attacks like Sybil attacks. And finally, the grant distribution. So rather than waiting for like 6 months of process for core decision makers to go through every single project, we divided each round into short cycles. So we
Oh.